Hi, everyone. This is Stephanie with National Team Lock-In. I am thrilled to be bringing to you our third author for the evening. It's Miss Jennifer Niven. I am so excited to have her on air with us. She has written one of my favorite books of the year, All the Right Places, among other things. So without further ado, I bring you Miss Jennifer Niven.
Hi. Hi, everyone. It's so great to be here, and I'm very excited. So I am going to answer these wonderful questions I see. The first one is, where do you get your ideas? I get my ideas from a number of places. Usually from the kind of general answer is I get them from life. I think that being a writer, you are hopefully a good observer of people and things around you. And I find so much inspiration just from everyday life, the people I meet, people I love, conversations I hear, situations that are real, whether they're historic or they're happening now. And it just can come from the most unlikely place. My mom was also a writer, and she taught me to find the story in everything. And I think that that's really possible. The next question is, what is your inspiration? And that kind of goes, I guess, hand in hand with, where I find ideas. I find inspiration from so many things. As a writer, I like to listen to playlists. I always make playlists for my books. And it really helps me because if I can't be at my desk working, if I'm running errands or if I'm driving around Los Angeles, which you have to do a lot if you live here, which I do, or if I'm hiking or doing something like that, I can listen to the playlist and I can stay in the world of the book. And inevitably, I'll think of scene ideas as I'm listening to a song, and you can start envisioning something that you never even imagined. And in terms of All the Bright Places, I found inspiration from real life. I knew a boy who was very much like Finch, and so I always knew I wanted to write about him and about us, and that's what I did. This question says, there is a lot of excitement about the movie adaptation of the book. Yeah, I'm so excited myself. Can you tell us about it? Yes, I can. I can tell you that Elle Fanning is playing Violet, and I'm very excited about this. Elle actually signed on last summer to play Violet, so well before the book came out. And no one knew at the time that I had actually pictured Elle as Violet. So when I was writing Violet's character and writing the book, I was picturing Elle Fanning. And so I'm really excited because not only is she lovely and she's an amazing actress, she's exactly who I pictured for the character, and that almost never happens. The director is Miguel Arteta, who directed Cedar Rapids and Youth in Revolt with Michael Cera. And he also did Alexander and the Terrible, oh gosh, I always ruin that title. But he just did that one with Steve Carell and Jennifer Garner. And he's just the most amazing, brilliant man. And he also is extremely passionate about All the Bright Places and about telling the story that is in the book, not changing it. And actually, Elle Fanning told us when she got involved that she could not do it. She couldn't play Violet if we were going to change anything with the ending or anything about it. She wanted to play Violet, and she wanted to be in the story that I wrote for a book. And the last bit of news I can say is that I am writing the script, which I'm excited about and nervous about, but mostly excited. So I'm very happy about that, and we just announced that this week. So you are the first people I'm actually telling that to, so yay. Oh, and the next thing, I'll just say one more thing. The next thing we have to do is find Finch. So probably actively going to be looking for him in the fall, but we've already met with a couple of Finches, possible Finches. Number 4, the next question is, did you write the script? And I am writing the script right now. I'm actually working on an outline of the script. And once Miguel, the director, looks at the outline and we can talk about that, then I'll start writing. And very excited about that. And once we actually have pages, then we can audition the other characters and actors. All right. The next question is, All the Right Places has a bittersweet ending. Do you think it's important for teen books to be both realistic and uplifting? I do. I feel like the uplifting part is very important, and I feel like being honest is very important. I knew when I was working on this story that I needed to be as honest as possible. I think that there's a danger when you're writing about serious subjects like mental health, mental illness. I think there's a danger in romanticizing sometimes, especially in YA, and I didn't want to do that. Also, as I said, I had a lot of inspiration from real life and a person I knew and an experience I lived. And so because of that, I wanted to make, I had this I really wanted to be even more honest, I guess, because I wanted to be as true as I could to the actual experience itself. And a lot of people, I think, misjudge YA readers, and they think because they're teens, they're young, so you simplify, which is the last thing that you want to do. I think you owe it to your audience to be as straightforward as possible. And I feel like the YA audience is the most discerning in a lot of ways. I feel like if there's anything that does not ring true, they're going to put it aside, and rightfully so. So I do think it's really important. And the uplifting part is very important, especially when you're dealing with something so serious. Now, this question says, because your book was based on a personal experience, was it harder to write? And were you more critical of it because it was personal to you? The answer is yes and yes. It was harder to write in a lot of ways. It's actually something I had wanted to write for some time, and I just didn't know if I could because it was such a personal story. And it's one I wasn't sure I wanted to revisit and relive. But it ended up being very hard emotionally. At the same time, it came really quickly, and I wrote it faster than any other book I've written. This is my 8th book, but my first young adult, and I wrote it in 6 weeks. So I really feel like I was almost carrying it around with me for a long time, and then finally just put it on paper. So I think I was more critical about the story going into it. I wasn't sure if I wanted to write it, actually. I mean, I knew on one level I did, but on the other hand, I was afraid of it, and I wasn't sure if it really, there was a story there. And I think that that's a lot of times when you have something that is a very personal story, you often doubt it, the power of it, and if it really, could sustain a whole book. I hear from a lot of young writers who say they have a personal story they want to tell, but they're not sure anyone would want to hear it, or if it could be a book. And I always try to encourage them to write it. So I was critical of it, but I think in the end, I had a really wonderful emotional experience writing this book. And I can't tell you how moving it is to actually see it like it's a book now. It's actually real. Did you read a lot as a child? I did. I was a voracious reader. If you can see the bookcases behind me, you can see I still am. And I read so much. Both my parents read all the time, and they read to me. And as soon as I could, understand words, I was reading whatever it was, anything. So I've always loved reading. I just love it. I love that it's like a whole world, a whole new world that you can just step right into and inhabit. It's magic. This one says, do you have any tips for beginning writers? Yes, absolutely. My mother was a writer, and I was really lucky to have her, growing up, because she always encouraged me to write, and she encouraged me to express my imagination and never ever limit it. And that's one thing I always tell young writers: just don't limit yourself, and always believe in yourself and believe in your story and believe in your work. Don't give up, because writing can be really tough. But you just have to believe in the work and in yourself, and also read, because reading is important to writers. It opens your mind, it gives you new ideas, and it challenges you. And another thing I say is just write. And I know that sounds really simple and really trite, but I know so many talented writers who just don't show up to do the work. They talk about writing, but they don't actually do it. And I think a lot of times they're just afraid that it's not going to come out perfect on the page, but there's no such thing as perfect. You can always go back and edit, but you have to have something to work with. So let yourself write garbage if you want to. Lauren Oliver said, just, be prepared to suck, and it's okay. And it's so true. And the other thing I would say is write the story that you want to read, because if you do that, you're going to stay invested in that story much more so. And you're going to want to see it finish so you can read it. Okay, how did you start writing? Well, my mother was a writer, as I said. And when I was little, we had writing time in our daily routine. So she would write at her desk and I would write at mine. And at first I had crayons. And I just, I always loved putting stories together. And my mom actually kept most of them, which is kind of embarrassing and wonderful at the same time to see them again. But what I would do is she would give me a stack of pages, and however many pages there were, 20 pages maybe, that's how long my story would be. So, I would get to the last page and I would realize, like, oh, I only have half a page left or a page left, and I would just make really fast endings. So, they weren't the best endings ever, but I think there's something wise in that, in terms of, giving yourself a quota to do every day, or give yourself a certain amount of time to write every day. So I'm really grateful that she kind of encouraged that. What authors were big influences on your writing? Well, my mother, first and foremost. She taught me I could be or do anything. And as I said, she taught me never to limit my imagination. But beyond my mom, Flannery O'Connor is probably my next biggest influence. She's my favorite writer. And I think that she did so much with so little. Her stuff is so powerful, but she wrote very economically. And I just love her stuff. And I love Harper Lee, and I love Shirley Jackson. Ray Bradbury was a big influence when I was in high school. My best friend and I really got into his short stories. And if you read any of my short stories from high school, you know that I was reading Ray Bradbury, because they are very bad kind of Ray Bradbury like inspired pieces. But there's so many writers. Hemingway had a lot of wonderful things to say about the craft of writing. So I try to follow a lot of his advice every day. And the best thing that he said was, for me, is, when you're in a flow of writing and it's going really well, just don't get to the end of that, at the end of that day. Walk away from it before you've finished everything you want to finish. And that way it makes it easier to come to it the next day and continue. At what did you start writing? Maybe this is, at what age did I start writing? I started writing when I was little, but professionally, I started about 15 years ago, 15 or 16 years ago. And my first book was a nonfiction book. And I wrote 2 nonfiction books and then some novels for adults. And as I said, this is my first young adult, but I cannot imagine leaving the world of YA now that I'm in it because I love it so much. This question says, you always look so glamorous and fabulous. Thank you very much for that. How do you keep calm and collected with so much stuff going on in your life? It's so funny you should ask that, and thank you so much for asking it. I'm a bit like Violet in my book, in that Violet was always trying to like smile even when she didn't feel like smiling, and it's something that I've always kind of done since I was a teenager. And I'm trying to actually be better about not doing that all the time. However, I do get stressed out and there is a lot going on. So I try to work out and I go hiking, and I have 3 great literary cats, and they provide a lot of comic relief, which is really important. Friends and family are important too. I work all the time, but it's also important to have balance, and I realize that. So you need to have time for yourself, and you need to have time to have fun. Like, I don't know if you can see him, but Sam from Supernatural is behind me. So you have to have things like Supernatural to get excited about and have fun with, and One Direction's new single, which, as you know, dropped last night, and things like that. Just is all part of maintaining the balance. So again, thank you for that. But if you could see me sometimes, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much to do, and I'm not glamorous at those moments. Do you share your playlists? Yes, I do. Actually, if you go to my website, which is jenniferniven.com, I have a books page, which you'll see like in the nav bar. And on the All the Bright Places page at the very bottom, I have my playlists listed. So I have 3 playlists that I made. That one's Violet and one's for Finch, and then one's for the book itself. And then I also have a fan mix, which I'm continuing to add to because people have sent me such wonderful suggestions for songs. So absolutely. So if you go on there, you can find them. And there are a bunch of really great fan mixes on 8 tracks, which I just discovered the other day, and I was wanting to listen for hours to all this. So it's really fun to have music, and I'm using it as I work on the script, listening to it. Can you tell us what you're working on right now? I am working on the movie script for All the Bright Places, and I am also writing the next young adult novel. So my novel tentatively will come out next fall, and I can't tell you anything about it, but I'm having a really good time working on it. So I am writing the next book. But it does not have anything to do with All the Bright Places, so it's completely standalone, but it is YA. What is your favorite novel? Probably In Cold Blood by Truman Capote, which I know was like a nonfiction novel. It was like a whole new genre that he kind of created, but that is probably one of, if not my favorite book. I also love Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. She's my favorite literary heroine. So I would say Alice is probably a close second. How much does an author make? This is a tricky question because I bet you could ask 12 authors and they would have 12 different answers for this. It really depends on the type of book you're writing, the subject matter you're writing, how much people believe in it, how excited they are, if you are a writer who's been around for a while, if you are just starting out. there's so many different variables. You know, and screenwriters make a different amount from novel writers who make a different amount from nonfiction writers. So I don't even know, because from book to book, it always changes. Let's see, how's life going for you? Life's going well. Thank you for asking that. I hope life is going well for you. You know what? There's so much excitement with the book, and it's just been such an amazing journey, and it's one I'm grateful for every single day. The film announcement came out on Monday, and the book is number 5 on the New York Times bestseller list this week. And I hear from all of these wonderful, wonderful readers who are telling me that the book saved their life in some way. And that means more than any of the other stuff. So it's a bit, I have to pinch myself all the time. That's how life's going. I'm always pinching myself. When did you realize you wanted to be an author? I think when I realized I would never truly be a rock star, I realized I would be an author, because I wanted to be a rock star for the longest time. And when I figured out that I didn't have the best singing voice, I thought, okay, I will be an author. And I'm really glad now that it worked out that way, I have to say. Tell us about Germ Magazine. Did you always know you wanted to bring it to life as a real magazine? Yes, I did. Germ, for those of you who don't know, Germ Magazine is something that Violet creates in all the right places. And I was thinking as I was writing the book, wouldn't it be cool if there was a real Germ? You know, and it would be a site that could be run by and for teens and early 20-somethings, and it would deal with real issues. I mean, there would be some entertainment and things like that, but we would also deal with real issues, honestly, in a way that a lot of sites don't. And so I thought, what if it were real? And now I think about a year and a half later, because we've been up about a year and a half now, it is so wonderful to see what's being done there. And I can say that because I'm technically editor-in-chief, but I also really don't do that much with Germ anymore. It's run by these amazing young women, and what they've done is it just is amazing to me. We have staff writers from all over the world. We have a volunteer staff of like 60 now, and we get submissions from all over the world. And we have like a part literary magazine. So for all the writers out there, please submit something for creative fiction or nonfiction or the journalistic side. We'd love to hear from you. Let's see. How is writing a script different from writing a book? It's very different, and it actually feels like I'm using the two different sides of my brain. For me, writing the script it's not as creative a format, but it's such a creative thing. And I feel more constrained in the script format, the screenplay format, than I do with a novel. I feel more free in a novel to just, and I feel more at home in the novel. But at the same time, I did go to film school. I got my MFA in screenwriting. So I do have this great appreciation for telling a story in that way. And I love movies and I love television. And I think that what can be done visually is it's just really, really fun to think about how to tell all the right places in a different way, because there is going to be a lot of stuff that can't make it to the screen, but I'm interested to see how it's going to, how that's going to happen. What made you think to make the switch from the adult world to YA? I've always wanted to write YA. I love reading YA, and it's actually what I read for pleasure. And I think what's being done in YA these days is just so brave and creative and bold and exciting, and I wanted to be a part of that. Plus, I just think it's really exciting that you are encouraging young people to read, even though a lot of adults read YA, clearly, like I do. But I just wanted to be a part of it in some way. And as I said, now that I'm a part of it, I cannot imagine going back, even though I probably will do another adult book down the line, but I'm really having a good time in YA. Can you say hey to Darlington County Library? Yes, hey Darlington County Library. It's good to kind of meet you, and thank you for all you do, especially for us readers and writers. How has writing affected your life personally? It has taken me places that I never expected to go. It has broadened and widened the world for me in so many ways. It has connected me to the most amazing people. It's left me with not a lot of free time, so I have very understanding friends, but it's really just, it's hard to even describe. It's just made my life magical. I love what I do. Let's see, oh, fan fiction. Okay, do you read fan fiction about your books? Yes, I do. I love reading it, and I love it when people send it to me, and I love it when I stumble across it, and it is, I read all of it that I can find, so yes, absolutely. And if you have any, please send it to me because I'd love to read it. Has society changed who you are or what you write? This is a really interesting question. I don't think so, because I try not to think too much about the book, you know, in its finished state going out into the world. I try to just think about the story at hand that I want to tell, the characters I'm working with. And that's what I really just focus on, the heart of the story, the heart of the characters. And I try to write that as organically and purely and honestly as possible. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I don't think so. I don't think so. And number 25, let's see. So now, let's see, any last words I'd like to share? Let's see. I just want to say thank you to all of the librarians and the readers, because I couldn't do what I do without you. And I wish I could write you a fan fiction, because you all are my heroes. And I just really appreciate what you do. And I'm so happy to be a part of this world. It's just, as I said, it's really magical. And I've just met the most wonderful people, you all included. So thank you for that. You are my bright places.
Well, thank you so much for doing this for us tonight. I really appreciate you donating your time to National Teen Lock-In for us. And your half an hour flew by so fast. You kept talking and answering our questions very graciously. I don't think there's any, let me just double check one last time if there was any that popped on.
And thank you. This has been fun.
You're welcome. I don't see any other questions, so we'll be back at 10 o'clock with Jessica Brody. So hang out for the next half an hour. Keep having fun at your lock-ins, everyone, and we'll see you back here at 10 o'clock for those of you who'd like to participate. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you so much again. Bye-bye.